Turns out, when your husband's guy's trip to Paris includes lingerie purchases from agent provocateur, either his bros have gotten really experimental, or you're about to become the star of a French farce you never auditioned for. I'm June Ramsey, and I pride myself on my organizational skills. I can coordinate a 500-person corporate conference blindfolded, juggle 17 vendors while simultaneously sweet-talking a bridezilla out of releasing doves indoors. My color-coded calendar system has been featured in Real Simple magazine. So when my husband Barrett, a man whose idea of planning ahead is remembering to DVR the Broncos game, suddenly became secretive about a once-in-a-lifetime trip with his college buddies, my finely tuned bullshit detector started screaming louder than a smoke alarm at a frat house. It started small. Barrett leaving his phone face down everywhere. Barrett suddenly interested in learning French on Duolingo. This man who refused to say gracias at our local Mexican restaurant because he claimed, "They're in America now. They should speak English." Barrett practicing pronunciation in the bathroom mirror at 2 a.m. like he was auditioning for Emily in Paris, the midlife crisis edition. "To a belle," he'd whisper to his reflection, and I'd think, "Belle of the ball is about to become belle of the divorce court, buddy." The official story? Spring break trip to Paris with Chad, Marcus, and Trey, his Sigma Chi brothers from CU Boulder who I'd met exactly twice in 8 years of marriage, both times at tailgates where they'd called me Barrett's ball and chain while shotgunning Coors Light. These middle-aged finance bros were supposedly going to experience art, culture, and the Louvre. Right. And I'm secretly Beyoncé, but I'm a professional event planner, which means I'm basically a detective with a Pantone book. So I did what I do best. I created a spreadsheet. Column A, Barrett's normal behavior. Minimal grooming, boxers from Costco, considers Olive Garden date night. Column B, Barrett's Paris trip behavior. Teeth whitening, designer cologne, watching YouTube videos about how to kiss like a French man. Column C, red flags that could be seen from space. The evidence piled up faster than dirty dishes in a teenage boy's bedroom. Credit card statements revealed charges at boutiques I'd never heard of. A hotel reservation confirmation email that appeared briefly on our shared iPad before being frantically deleted, but not before I screenshot it and noted the details. Hotel Plaza Athénée, Suite Romance, March 27 to 30. Suite Romance, for a guy's trip. Unless Chad, Marcus, and Trey had suddenly become very close, someone was lying harder than a rug at Home Goods. Wednesday, March 13th, I was supposed to be finalizing details for a pharmaceutical conference. Instead, I was reverse engineering my husband's affair like I was defusing a bomb. The hotel reservation? Under the name B. Montgomery, Barrett's mother's maiden name because he's creative like a paint-by-numbers set. The room? Booked for 2 people. The special requests? Champagne, rose petals, and privacy. I called the hotel, pretending to be Barrett's assistant, a role I'd apparently been playing in our marriage anyway. "Yes, Mademoiselle Ramsey," the concierge said, his accent thick as French butter. "Monsieur Montgomery has requested our honeymoon package. Very romantic." He also made reservations at Le Jules Verne for Thursday evening. Le Jules Verne, the restaurant in the Eiffel Tower where reservations require a sacrifice to the French gods of cuisine and your firstborn child. The same restaurant where I'd mentioned, casually just once, 7 years ago, that I'd love to celebrate our anniversary there someday. Apparently, our anniversary didn't make the cut, but his midlife crisis did. I should have felt devastated, betrayed, shattered into a million pieces like that champagne flute I'd thrown at the wall after seeing the credit card statement from a jewelry store. Because yes, there was also a jewelry store. Instead, I felt something else entirely. The cold, calculated fury of a woman who'd spent 8 years planning perfect events, only to discover she'd been the entertainment, not the guest of honor. The jewelry purchase was the nuclear option of evidence. March 15th, Cartier, Denver. $16,000. I checked our joint savings. Barrett had withdrawn it without mentioning a word. Not for our anniversary, not for my birthday, for her. But who was her? Enter social media stalking, my secondary superpower after budget reconciliation. I started with Barrett's Instagram follows. He'd recently followed someone new, A soulful Simone, a life coach and spiritual guide whose bio read, helping others find their authentic selves, living my truth, Paris dreamer. Her real name, according to her LinkedIn, Sharon Finkelstein from Tampa, Florida. She'd attended the same corporate wellness retreat Barrett's bank had hosted 6 months ago in Scottsdale, the one he'd insisted on going to despite calling wellness retreats hippie nonsense for our entire marriage. Her Instagram was a masterclass in what I call inspirational homewrecker aesthetic. There are pictures of her doing yoga at sunset, quotes about following your bliss even when society doesn't understand, and, here's the kicker, recent posts about manifesting a romantic Parisian adventure with my twin flame. Twin flame. I was going to twin flame his credit cards into oblivion. I scrolled through her followers and found something interesting. 3 other middle-aged men with corporate headshots and wedding rings conspicuously absent from their profile pictures, all liking every single post. Sharon, it seemed, wasn't just ruining my marriage, she was running a whole operation. But that was a problem for later. Right now, I had a more immediate situation. Barrett's guys trip was scheduled for March 27th, the same week as his mother's 70th birthday party that I'd spent 3 months planning. The party he'd insisted he absolutely couldn't miss for anything. Friday afternoon, March 15th, I sat at our kitchen island, the one I'd picked out in the house I'd decorated, in the marriage I'd apparently been having with myself, and made a decision. I wasn't going to confront Barrett. I wasn't going to cry or scream or play the role of the hysterical wife having a breakdown in suburban Denver while he sipped wine in the City of Light. I was going to do what I do best. Plan an event. And this event was going to be one nobody would forget. I opened my laptop, booked a flight to Paris for Monday, March 25th, 2 days before Barrett's arrival, and began crafting what I like to call Operation Surprise. Barrett thought he was planning a romantic getaway. Sharon thought she'd found her twin flame. But me? I was planning the party of the year. And unlike my usual events, this one had a very special guest list. 1 cheating husband, 1 fraudulent life coach, and a surprise appearance by reality itself. Paris isn't just for lovers, I thought, sipping my wine and updating my spreadsheet with international flight details. It's for lawyers, too. And I was about to give Barrett the education of his life, taught in fluent French, English, and the universal language of consequences. Monday, March 25th, I landed at Charles de Gaulle Airport at 6 a.m., looking like every other exhausted American tourist, except I was running on pure spite and 3 espressos from the Delta Lounge. Revenge, I discovered, is an excellent substitute for sleep. The Uber driver who took me to the Plaza Athénée asked if I was visiting Paris for the first time. Business trip, I said, which was technically true. The business just happened to be destroying my husband's affair in the most spectacular way possible. The hotel was everything the pictures promised. Gilded, elegant, dripping with the kind of old-world luxury that makes you feel like you should be wearing pearls just to walk through the lobby. I approached the front desk with my best corporate professional who tips well smile. Bonjour, I'm June Ramsey, assistant to Monsieur Barrett Montgomery. I'm here to ensure everything is perfect for his arrival on Wednesday. The desk attendant, whose name tag read Etienne, lit up like a Christmas tree. Ah oui, the honeymoon suite. We have prepared everything as requested. Actually, I said, sliding my credit card across the marble counter, I'd like to make some upgrades. Monsieur Montgomery is quite particular, and I want to ensure everything exceeds expectations. Nothing loosens lips like an American corporate card with no spending limit. Over the next hour, I learned everything. The champagne Barrett had ordered? Basic. I upgraded to Dom Perignon, on my card naturally. The rose petals? I doubled them. The do not disturb signs? I had them make custom ones that read, happily married man inside. But the real genius was in the details. Etienne, I said, leaning in conspiratorially. Monsieur Montgomery is planning to surprise his companion. I want to ensure the room reflects his true feelings. Could we perhaps add some personal touches? Photos, maybe? 20 minutes and 200 euros later, Etienne and I were best friends. I showed him my wedding photos. Barrett and me at our Denver ceremony, Barrett and me at his company Christmas party, Barrett and me at the gated community 4th of July barbecue where he'd told everyone I was the best decision he ever made. How romantic, Etienne said. These will display beautifully on the digital photo frame in the suite. On a loop, I specified. Every 30 seconds. Can't let him forget why he's such a lucky man. Etienne's smile was pure French mischief. Madame, I think perhaps you are not the assistant, non. I'm whatever I need to be, I said. Tuesday, I spent the day living my best life in the city Barrett thought he'd be enjoying with his spiritual twin flame. I had coffee at a sidewalk cafe where I watched Americans butcher the language and French waiters die inside. I walked along the Seine, bought a beret I'd never wear, and ate so much cheese I basically became French by osmosis. But mostly, I planned. The restaurant reservation at Le Jules Verne was for Thursday at 8 p.m. The evening Barrett was planning to propose. Yes, propose. I'd found the receipt for the Cartier ring in his luggage, which he'd hidden in the garage like I wouldn't notice the new combination lock on his golf bag. Amateur. I showed up at Le Jules Verne for a consultation. Madame Ramsay, the maitre d', Philippe, greeted me like I was visiting royalty. I'd called ahead, explained the situation, minus the part about it being my husband, and requested the full romantic experience consultation for a client's very important proposal. We have prepared the table with the best view of the Trocadero, Philippe said, walking me through the space. The restaurant was stunning, all floor-to-ceiling windows and glittering Paris spread out below like a jewelry box. Perfect, I said. Now, about the proposal itself. My client wants everything documented. Professional photographer? But of course. Wonderful. And he's requested that his family be here to celebrate afterward. They're surprising him by flying in. Can we accommodate 12 additional people at nearby tables? Philippe's eyes widened. 12? His mother is very traditional, I explained. She wouldn't miss this for the world. In fact, she's so excited. She's bringing his father, his siblings, his Aunt Carol who never leaves Oklahoma. I trailed off meaningfully. The best lies are wrapped in truth. Barrett's mother was traditional. She was evangelical. And she would absolutely lose her mind seeing her precious son propose to someone who wasn't his wife. Had I actually invited Barrett's family to Paris? Not yet. That was Wednesday's project. We will arrange everything, Philippe promised. One more thing, I said, pulling out my phone. Could your photographer also capture the moment from multiple angles? My client wants to share it on social media. You know how millennials are. Barrett was a millennial in age only. The man still printed out MapQuest directions, but Philippe didn't need to know that. Wednesday morning, I was at a cafe across from the Plaza Athénée at 7 a.m., watching the entrance like I was on a stakeout, which, technically, I was. Barrett and Sharon's flight was supposed to land at 9, putting them at the hotel around 11. I'd already been inside that morning, pretending to drop off additional materials for the Montgomery reservation. The photo loop was set. The champagne was chilling. The custom do not disturb signs were printed and placed. Everything was perfect. At 10:47 a.m., a taxi pulled up. Out stepped Barrett, looking like every other American tourist trying too hard. Designer luggage, sunglasses that cost more than our first car, and a blazer that screamed, "I watched Emily in Paris for fashion tips." Behind him emerged Sharon Simone, and I had to physically restrain myself from laughing into my café au lait. She was wearing a beret, an actual beret, paired with a striped shirt and red lipstick like she was cosplaying as a French person for Halloween. They looked so happy, so excited. Barrett put his arm around her waist, and she gazed up at him like he'd invented croissants. You beautiful idiots, I thought. You absolute disasters of human beings. I watched them enter the hotel, watched Barrett gesture grandly at the facade like he owned it, watched Sharon clutch his arm and giggle. The old June would have cried. The new June took photos for evidence and finished her pastry. Inside, I knew Etienne was checking them in with a smile. I knew they were being escorted to the suite. I knew that in approximately 15 minutes, when they opened that door and saw the champagne, the rose petals, and the custom photo loop of Barrett's actual wife, things were going to get very interesting. But I wasn't there to see the immediate reaction. That would be too easy, too simple. I wanted them to marinate in it, to wonder, to panic. I wanted Barrett to spend the next 24 hours in Paris terrified that his wife somehow knew, somehow followed him, somehow had turned his romantic getaway into a psychological thriller. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown French number, Etienne. Madame, they have entered the suite. Monsieur Montgomery appears surprised. The woman is asking many questions. Shall I send the champagne now? I typed back, with the card that says, from your wife who paid for everything. Merci, Etienne. 3 dots appeared. Then, you are my hero, madame. This is better than television. I smiled, left cash on the table, and walked back toward my own hotel, a charming little boutique place in Le Marais that cost 1/3 of the Plaza Athénée and had better croissants. Tomorrow was Thursday. Tomorrow was the proposal that wouldn't happen. Tomorrow was the family reunion that Barrett didn't know was coming. Tomorrow, I was going to give my husband exactly what he deserved. The truth, served French style, with a side of public humiliation and a garnish of divorce papers. But tonight I had reservations at a little bistro where the waiter didn't speak English, and the wine list was longer than my marriage vows. I was going to eat, drink, and enjoy the fact that somewhere across the city, Barrett was having the worst romantic getaway of his life. And the best part? He had no idea it was only going to get worse. Bon appétit, Barrett, I thought, raising my wine glass to the Parisian sunset. Bon appétit. Wednesday night, while Barrett was presumably having a breakdown in his honeymoon suite, I was having the revelation of my life over a bottle of Sancerre and the hotel's complimentary Wi-Fi. Sharon Finkelstein wasn't just ruining my marriage. She was running a goddamn franchise. I'd started digging deeper into her social media, following the trail of middle-aged men who liked every single one of her inspirational posts. 3 profiles stood out. Mark T. Finance. Wedding ring in older photos, conspicuously absent in recent ones. A David Corp Hot exec. Bio mentioned newly separated. And Richard M. Consulting, whose profile picture was clearly taken at the same Scottsdale wellness retreat where Barrett met Sharon. I created a burner Instagram account, a wellness watchdog, and started following their followers, looking for connections. What I found was a masterclass in long-con romance fraud. Sharon had a type: successful, married, middle-aged men going through what she probably called their awakening, and what I called their expensive midlife crisis. She'd follow the same playbook with each one: meet at corporate wellness retreats, establish herself as a spiritual guide, gradually escalate to twin flame territory, then suggest a romantic getaway, where the men would inevitably propose with expensive jewelry. But here's the kicker: she never actually married them. She'd string them along for months, bleeding them financially through coaching sessions and spiritual retreats, accepting gifts and cash for her nonprofit foundation. Spoiler alert, there was no nonprofit. And then ghost them when they pushed for an actual commitment. Barrett wasn't her first rodeo. He wasn't even her first Paris rodeo. I found a blog post from a woman named Jennifer in Seattle, posted 6 months ago. How I lost my husband and $47,000 to a spiritual scam artist. The description matched Sharon perfectly, down to the same Paris twin flame adventure pitch. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown Denver number. Is this June Ramsey? I saw your husband's wife. I found your number through his company directory. We need to talk. Melissa. I stared at the message, my brain calculating possibilities. Then I called. June? The voice was shaky, female, desperate. June Ramsey? Speaking. My name is Melissa Cordova. My husband Marcus Whitfield. I think he's in Paris right now, with your husband, and a woman named Simone. The room tilted slightly. Marcus. As in Chad, Marcus, and Trey. The guys trip bros. Melissa, I said carefully. How did you find me? I've been tracking Marcus's credit cards. He's staying at the same hotel as your husband. Different room, but same dates. And he's been talking to the same woman your husband has. I found her number in his phone, then found her Instagram, then found your husband in her followers, then... She was speed talking, the words tumbling out like she'd been holding them in for weeks. I called Barrett's office, pretended to be a client, got transferred to HR, said I needed to send a gift basket, and they gave me his home address directory listing, which had your name and— Melissa, I interrupted gently. Take a breath. Are you telling me Marcus is also having an affair with Sharon? Sharon? I thought her name was Simone? Sharon Finkelstein from Tampa. Simone is her spiritual persona. A long pause. Then, that bitch? I laughed. I couldn't help it. Yeah, that's one word for her. June, what are we going to do? And there it was. The question I'd been asking myself since Monday. What was I going to do? I had divorce papers ready. I had lawyers on retainer. I had evidence that would hold up in any Denver court. But this was bigger than just Barrett's betrayal. Melissa, is Marcus planning to propose to her? I found a jewelry receipt in his briefcase. Tiffany's, $22,000. Barrett bought from Cartier, $16,000. Another pause. Then Melissa said, voice steel cold, she's collecting engagement rings like Pokemon cards. And apparently our husbands are rare holographics, I said. Melissa, where are you right now? Denver, in my car, in a Target parking lot. I didn't know what else to do. I made a decision that would either be brilliant or catastrophic. How fast can you get a passport and pack a bag? What? There's a flight tomorrow morning. United, 8:15 a.m. I'll buy your ticket. We're going to Paris. We're what? Melissa. Sharon isn't just scamming our husbands. She's running an operation. And I'm willing to bet Marcus isn't the only other Mark. If we're going to burn this down, we need to burn it all down. Are you in? Silence. Then, I want the window seat. Done. After I hung up with Melissa, I made another call. This one to Barrett's mother, Patricia. June, sweetheart, how are you? Patricia Ramsey was many things. Evangelical, traditional, prone to forwarding chain emails about Jesus and liberal conspiracies. But she loved me. More importantly, she loved the idea of me, the good Christian wife who kept her son grounded and organized church socials. Patricia, I need to tell you something, and you're going to want to sit down. 15 minutes later, Patricia was booking flights for herself, Barrett's father Ronald, Barrett's younger sister Madison, and yes, Aunt Carol from Oklahoma, the same Aunt Carol who'd once told Barrett at Thanksgiving that marriage is a sacred covenant, and anyone who breaks it answers to God Almighty, and also me. June, honey, are you sure about this? Patricia's voice was shaking. Barrett wouldn't— He's not— Patricia, I have receipts. Literal receipts. Hotel confirmations. Jewelry purchases. And a reservation at the most romantic restaurant in Paris for tomorrow night, where he's planning to propose to another woman. The silence on the other end was arctic. Then, what time should we arrive at that restaurant? 8 p.m. I'll text you the address. Dress nice. It's the Eiffel Tower. June, Patricia said, voice now pure maternal fury. I raised him better than this. I know you did. That's why you need to see it for yourself. After Patricia hung up, presumably to call prayer chains and pack her most judgmental church outfit, I opened my laptop and drafted an email to the two other women from Jennifer's blog post comments section who'd mentioned similar experiences with a spiritual coach named Simone. Subject: the twin flame fraud. Let's talk. My name is June. My husband is currently in Paris with Sharon Finkelstein, aka Simone. I believe she scammed your husband's partners too. I'm in Paris now with evidence and a plan. If you want justice, reply to this email. We're taking her down. I hit send and stared at my phone. This had started as personal revenge, a wife teaching her cheating husband a lesson, but it was becoming something bigger, something that felt almost righteous. My phone buzzed again. Etienne. Madame. Monsieur Montgomery has been to the front desk 3 times asking about unauthorized room modifications. He seems très upset. The woman is demanding they change hotels. This is the best entertainment we have had in months. I smiled and typed back, don't let them change. Tell them the entire hotel is fully booked due to a convention. Be very apologetic. With pleasure. Also, a woman named Melissa Cordova called asking about you. I gave her your number as instructed. Was this correct? Perfect. Etienne, You're going to get the best Yelp review of your life. Madame, I do not need Yelp. I need you to write a book when this is finished. Thursday morning, I met Melissa at Charles de Gaulle. She was exactly what I expected. Put together, professional, running on coffee and rage. We hugged like old friends, two women united by betrayal and frequent flyer miles. I can't believe I'm in Paris for this, she said as we shared a taxi into the city. I can't believe we're going to pull this off, I replied. What's the plan? I pulled out my tablet, opened my signature color-coded spreadsheet. Tonight at Le Jules Verne, Barrett is proposing to Sharon. His entire family will be there, sitting at nearby tables, watching the whole thing unfold. You and I will be there too, but Sharon won't recognize us. We'll be at the bar, recording everything. And Marcus? Does he know Barrett's family is coming? No. Barrett told him it was just the two of them and their dates tonight. Perfect. So Marcus will be blindsided too. 2 proposals, 1 scam artist, 12 angry family members, and video evidence that's going to viral on every platform from TikTok to the evening news. Melissa stared at me. You're terrifying. I'm thorough, I corrected. There's a difference. June? Yeah? Thank you. For this. For not letting me face this alone. I squeezed her hand. We're not alone anymore. And after tonight? Sharon's going to wish she'd stuck to actual spiritual coaching instead of romance fraud. My phone pinged. An email replied to my twin flame fraud message. I'm Rachel from Chicago. Simone took my ex-husband for $63,000. I have documentation. What do you need? Another ping. Jessica? Austin? Same woman, different retreat. I want in. What's the plan? I showed Melissa the messages. We're not just exposing Sharon to our husbands. We're exposing her to everyone. How? I smiled. Melissa, have you ever heard of the hashtag #CheerParisPayback? No. You will. By tomorrow morning, the entire internet will. Tonight was going to be spectacular. Thursday, March 28th, 8 p.m. Le Jules Verne was glittering like a jewelry box, all crystal and candlelight with the Eiffel Tower's iron lattice framing panoramic views of Paris. Melissa and I sat at the bar, dressed to kill in little black dresses we'd panic bought at Galleries Lafayette that afternoon, looking like any other tourist celebrating a girl's trip. Except we weren't celebrating yet. We were hunting. There, Melissa whispered, gripping her wine glass. That's Marcus. I followed her gaze to a table by the window where Marcus Whitfield, tall, graying, wearing a blazer that screamed, I'm having a midlife crisis but make it European, was pulling out a chair for Sharon, who was wearing a white dress that was frankly insulting in its bridal implications. And there's Barrett, I said, my voice steadier than I felt. My husband appeared from the restroom, looking nervous and sweaty despite the restaurant's perfect temperature control. He was wearing the Tom Ford suit I'd bought him for our anniversary last year. The irony wasn't lost on me. But here's what Barrett and Marcus didn't know. They weren't alone. Scattered throughout the restaurant at carefully positioned tables were Patricia and Ronald Ramsey, Barrett's sister Madison and her husband, Aunt Carol, who'd worn her Sunday best and was already glaring daggers. And, in a twist I'd orchestrated that morning, Melissa's parents, who she'd convinced to surprise Marcus with a Paris visit. Everyone was in position. Everyone had their phones ready. And everyone was about to get a show they'd never forget. Philippe, the maitre d', caught my eye from across the room. I nodded. Showtime. Sharon was midway through what appeared to be a very animated story. Probably something about manifesting abundance or finding your authentic self. When the first surprise arrived, a violinist appeared at their table, playing something romantic and French. Sharon's face lit up like a slot machine hitting jackpot. Barrett looked like he might vomit, but he was committed now. He reached into his pocket. Marcus, at the same moment, also reached into his pocket. Melissa grabbed my arm. Oh my God, they're both proposing simultaneously, I finished. Sharon's about to have a very interesting problem. Barrett knelt first. The restaurant went quiet. The kind of manufactured quiet where everyone pretends not to watch while absolutely watching. Sharon? He began, voice shaking. You've awakened something in me. You've shown me what it means to live authentically, to follow my bliss, to— Sharon, Marcus interrupted, also kneeling, apparently not reading the room. You are my twin flame, my soul's purpose, my— Sharon's face cycled through confusion, panic, and rapid calculation in approximately 3 seconds. She looked between the two men, both holding ring boxes, both proposing, and I watched in real time as her scam collapsed like a soufflé. Both of you, this isn't— she stammered. That's when Patricia Ramsey stood up. Barrett James Ramsey. Her voice could have shattered the crystal. The entire restaurant turned. What in the name of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ do you think you're doing? Barrett's face went from nervous sweaty to death pale. Mom? Don't you mom me. You stand up right now. Marcus, still kneeling, looked around frantically and spotted Melissa's parents. Mr. and Mrs. Cordova? What are we doing? Melissa's father, a retired Marine Corps officer, stood up. What are you doing, son? Aunt Carol stood up next, clutching her purse like a weapon. I did not fly 6 hours in economy to watch my nephew disgrace his marriage vows in front of the Eiffel Tower. Madison was filming on her phone. Other diners were filming. The violinist had stopped playing and was just standing there, bow frozen midair. Sharon tried to run. She actually tried to run. But Philippe had positioned waiters at every exit, and she made it approximately 6 feet before a server blocked her path with a dessert cart. Mademoiselle, Philippe said smoothly, your table has not yet received the bill. That's when I stood up. Melissa stood up with me. We walked over to the disaster unfolding at the window table like we were approaching a car accident in slow motion. Hi, honey, I said to Barrett. Funny meeting you here. Barrett's mouth opened. No sound came out. He looked like a computer trying to process too much information at once and blue screening. June? He finally whispered. What? Oh, sweetie, I said, voice dripping with the same condescending tone he'd used every time I'd suggested marriage counseling. Did you think I wouldn't notice? I'm an event planner. This is literally what I do. Coordinate complex logistics. You just made it easier by using our shared credit card. Marcus was staring at Melissa. Mel? You knew? We both knew, Melissa said. And we both planned this. Together. Sharon was backing toward the window now, trapped between the table and 43 floors of empty air. This is a misunderstanding. I'm a spiritual guide. These men sought my counsel for their personal growth. Cut the shit, Sharon, I said. Or should I call you Simone? Or Sharon Finkelstein from Tampa? Or whatever name you're using for your next mark. I pulled out my phone, opened my email, and started reading. Jennifer from Seattle lost her husband and $47,000. Rachel from Chicago lost her marriage and $63,000. Jessica from Austin. How do you— Sharon's spiritual guru mask was cracking, revealing something desperate underneath. They emailed me, all of them. Because apparently, you've been running this scam for 3 years, hitting corporate wellness retreats, targeting married men going through midlife crises, and bleeding them dry before ghosting. I turned to Barrett. You were going to be number 17. Marcus would have been 18. Congratulations, you're not even original in your terrible life choices. Patricia was praying loudly. Aunt Carol was taking photos. Madison's video was definitely going on TikTok. Barrett tried to stand up, dropped the ring box, which bounced twice and fell with a sad little tink against a table leg. June, I can explain. Explain what? That you were so desperate for meaning in your life that you fell for a con artist with a fake French name and a Pinterest board personality? That you spent our savings on a ring for someone who's simultaneously engaged to your frat brother? That you brought her to the restaurant I mentioned wanting to visit for our anniversary? Our anniversary, Barrett said weakly, like he'd just remembered I existed. 7 years ago, Barrett. I said it 7 years ago, and you said Le Jules Verne was overpriced tourist trap food. But for Sharon? Suddenly you're a romantic. The restaurant was dead silent except for the sound of multiple phones recording. This was going to be everywhere by morning. Monsieur Montgomery. Philippe appeared with a silver tray. Your bill. And these additional documents. Barrett looked down at the papers Philippe was holding. His face went gray. Divorce papers. I explained helpfully. Already signed by me. You've been served, in Paris, at the Eiffel Tower, during your failed proposal to a con artist. How's that for authentic living? Marcus was crying. Sharon was calculating escape routes. Barrett looked like he was having an out-of-body experience. Melissa pulled out her own phone. Marcus, I'm filing tomorrow. My lawyer says I get the house, the cars, and custody of the dog. You get to explain to your partners at the firm why our Paris payback is trending with your face attached? What's Paris payback? Marcus whispered. I smiled. The hashtag currently going viral with videos of this exact moment. Madison's been live streaming to TikTok for 6 minutes. Patricia's church prayer chain has already shared it 47 times. And I may have tipped off a few American lifestyle bloggers who were very interested in a story about romance fraud and corporate wellness retreat scams. Sharon made one last attempt at damage control. You can't prove any of this. I'm a licensed life coach. These are just relationships that didn't work out. Actually, a new voice said from behind us. We can prove it. 2 women I'd never met in person walked through the restaurant. Rachel from Chicago and Jessica from Austin, who'd apparently caught red-eye flights after my email. We have documentation, Rachel said, pulling out a folder. Bank transfers, text messages, emails where you explicitly requested money for your nonprofit foundation that doesn't exist. And, Jessica added, we've already filed a complaint with the FBI's fraud division. Turns out, romance fraud across state lines is a federal offense. Who knew? Sharon lunged for the exit. Felipe's waiters formed a human wall. She was trapped, cornered by her own greed, surrounded by angry spouses and documented evidence of years of fraud. The police are already here, Felipe said calmly, waiting in the lobby. We called when Madame Ramsey warned us there might be trouble. 2 French police officers entered the restaurant. Sharon tried the spiritual guide voice one more time. Officers, this is a misunderstanding. I'm being harassed by Mademoiselle Finkelstein, one officer said in heavily accented English. You are wanted for fraud in 3 American states. We have an extradition request. You will come with us, s'il vous plaît. Watching Sharon being led away in handcuffs through one of Paris's most exclusive restaurants while 40 people filmed it was, I'll admit, the most satisfying moment of my entire life. Barrett was still frozen, holding his dropped ring box. Marcus was openly sobbing. Patricia was posting Bible verses. Melissa and I clinked our wine glasses. To Paris, Melissa said. To payback, I replied. The restaurant erupted in applause. Actual applause. From the other diners who'd been watching the whole thing like it was dinner theater. Philippe comped our meals. Madison's TikTok hit 100,000 views in real time. And Barrett? Barrett just sat there, surrounded by his family's disappointment and his own shattered delusions, probably wondering how his romantic Parisian proposal had turned into viral revenge porn and a pending fraud investigation. June, he said finally. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Can we talk about this? I looked at him, really looked at him, and felt nothing. No anger, no sadness, just the calm certainty that I'd made the right choice. Barrett, we just did. In front of the Eiffel Tower, with your mother live tweeting it. There's nothing left to say. I turned to Melissa, Rachel, and Jessica. Ladies, I know a fantastic wine bar in Le Marais. First bottle's on me. We walked out together, leaving Barrett and Marcus with their mothers, their mistakes, and the very expensive bill for 2 proposals that would never be. Paris, it turns out, really is the city of love. You just have to love yourself first. 6 months later, I'm sitting at a sidewalk cafe in Le Marais. Not as a woman on a revenge mission, but as someone who actually lives here now. Funny how life works out when you stop accepting the bare minimum and start demanding what you deserve. The Tour's Paris payback video hit 23 million views across platforms. Madison's TikTok alone got 8.7 million, spawning countless reaction videos, think pieces about romance fraud, and even a Dateline NBC special titled The Twin Flame Trap. I've been interviewed by Good Morning America, The Today Show, and somehow ended up as a case study in a Harvard Business School course on ethical failure in corporate wellness culture. Sharon Finkelstein, is currently serving 18 months in federal prison for wire fraud, with civil suits pending from 11 different victims. Turns out, when you scam people across state lines and document everything via email and Venmo, the FBI gets very interested. Her nonprofit foundation was a shell company in Delaware, and she'd pulled in over $340,000 over 3 years. Rachel, Jessica, and I started an actual nonprofit helping romance fraud victims navigate legal systems and rebuild their lives. We call it Authentic Recovery. A little on the nose, maybe, but Sharon would have hated it, which makes it perfect. Barrett? Barrett learned that viral humiliation in the age of social media is forever. His bank quietly asked him to resign after clients started requesting different account managers. Apparently, the guy who got exposed proposing to a con artist at the Eiffel Tower isn't great for confidence in financial planning. Last I heard through Madison, he's working at a smaller firm in Colorado Springs and going to therapy twice a week. Patricia makes him attend church every Sunday. Aunt Carol still won't speak to him. The divorce was finalized in 72 days. Turns out, when you have video evidence of attempted bigamy and your lawyer is very motivated, things move quickly. I got the house, which I promptly sold. I got half of everything else, which was substantial enough to fund my new life. And I got something more valuable, the certainty that I'd never again be someone's backup plan. Marcus and Melissa are also divorced. She got everything she wanted in the settlement. Plus, Marcus has to explain to their daughters, when they're older, why Daddy made headlines for the Paris proposal disaster. Melissa moved to Austin, started a consulting firm with Jessica, and they're thriving. We have a group chat called the Twin Flame Survivors Club, where we share wine recommendations and laugh about how we used to think we were the problem. As for me, I transferred my event planning skills to the international market. Turns out, American corporate clients love hiring someone with a viral success story, even if that success was orchestrated revenge. I've planned conferences in Barcelona, product launches in Amsterdam, and a truly insane wedding in Santorini. I speak conversational French now, the real kind, not the Duolingo fantasy Barrett was living. And yes, I'm seeing someone. His name is Laurent. He's a corporate attorney I met through the Sharon fraud case, and he thinks the entire Paris payback story is hilarious. He also thinks I'm brilliant, beautiful, and deserving of actual effort, which is apparently what happens when you date someone who isn't having a midlife crisis. People ask me if I regret how it happened, if I wish I'd handled it privately, quietly, like a dignified woman should. And honestly, no, not even a little bit. Because here's what I learned. There's nothing dignified about suffering in silence. There's nothing noble about protecting someone else's reputation while they destroy your life. And there's nothing wrong with making sure the world knows exactly who wronged you and how. Barrett took my time, my trust, and $16,000 of our savings. But I took something from him too. His comfortable delusion that actions don't have consequences. That he could have his stable, organized wife at home and his exciting spiritual journey on the side. That he could rewrite our marriage as something unfulfilling to justify his betrayal. The truth is, our marriage was unfulfilling. For me. I'd spent 8 years planning everyone else's moments while my own life became background noise. I'd organized his mother's birthday parties, his company events, his life, while slowly erasing my own needs from the equation. Barrett didn't wake up one day and decide to cheat. He'd been taking me for granted for years, and I'd let him. Sharon didn't destroy my marriage. She just exposed what was already broken. But she also gave me the gift of clarity, the push I needed to stop being complicit in my own diminishment, to stop planning everyone else's happiness and start demanding my own. Last week, I had coffee with Patricia. She apologized, for Barrett, for not seeing what was happening, for raising a son who could treat his wife so carelessly. I told her it wasn't her fault, which is true, but I also told her that I was grateful, in a weird way, for how everything unfolded. Grateful? She asked, confused. I got to live in Paris, I said. I built a business I love. I found people who value me. And I learned that I'm perfectly capable of saving myself. She smiled, sad but genuine. June, honey, you always were. Maybe? But I needed to prove it to myself. So here I am, 6 months after the worst night of Barrett's life became the best night of mine, drinking a café crème in the city where I staged my own liberation. The Eiffel Tower is visible from here, glittering in the afternoon sun, and I don't think about proposals or betrayal or revenge anymore. I think about how far I've come, how much stronger I am, how my life isn't background music to someone else's story anymore. It's the main event. And if Barrett ever Googles himself and sees the Paris payback videos still circulating, if he sees me living my best life in the city he tried to ruin for me, well, as Sharon might say, that's just karma doing its authentic work. Except, unlike Sharon, I actually believe in it.